Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. When Canada was left out of the global reciprocal tariff announcement from Donald Trump, it gave our country an unexpected advantage. And with Windsor on the border with the U.S., companies from all over the world saw this city as a place to build their products. Now that those tariffs have been paused for 90 days, that vision too has been put on pause. Chris Ensing explains.
For a week, some Canadian companies had a leg up in the global trade war, with Windsor companies set to benefit. Yes, tariffs have led to a pause in production at the Windsor assembly plant, and thousands of people at Stellantis and feeder plants are laid off for 2 weeks. But last week, when President Donald Trump pointed to his big board that did not have Canada on it, American purchasers went into action. They started calling Windsor manufacturers to get quotes on product orders. That's because Trump's Liberation Day tariffs gave Canada a leg up on other countries. Taiwan, for example, was slapped with a 32% tariff on goods imported to the United States, higher than the 25% tariff on Canadian goods sent to America, not covered by the free trade deal. People started to do those complicated calculations to see if Windsor was now a back door around American tariffs, but that sliver of a silver lining was blown up on Wednesday when Trump put a 90-day pause on those tariffs.
That 25% makes us not as attractive now as the rest of the world, whereas for the past week, we've been on, some will say level footing, and some would say we actually had a step up.
But because the U.S. and China have been slapping escalating tariffs on each other all week, Canada does have an advantage over China.
So a lot of these manufacturers, specifically in China, are looking for ways to manufacture their products here in Canada.
Ron Sims builds specialized parts for movie cameras in Essex County, and he says companies are calling about potential opportunities because Canada's reliable.
We play in this playground, in this landscape where at the moment we're being punched in the gut and punched in the face every 30 days, every 90 days, and that's not normal. So to seek some sort of stability and some sort of certainty should be the normal, and that's what a lot of these manufacturers and a lot of suppliers are looking to find.
The key is making sure that item is free trade compliant. That work usually a middle management gig, says this trade expert, but now it's being escalated to CEOs worried about costly mistakes.
You get it wrong, you're going to be not only assessed penalties for getting it wrong, you're going to be assessed the 25% tariff, and you're going to be assessed interest to make the government whole. You put those three things together, it's too expensive to get it wrong now.
The Windsor-Essex Chamber of Commerce says there's still ambiguity at the border, with companies confused over what will get tariffed. Trump is expected to revisit the pause on his Liberation Day tariffs in 90 days. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Meanwhile, another hit to auto. General Motors will shut down its Cami assembly plant in Ingersoll starting next month. The facility is expected to remain closed until October, when it will reopen with just one shift. This means about 500 workers will lose their jobs. The workers' union described this development as a, quote, crushing blow to hundreds of working families. Unifor National President Lana Payne said General Motors must do everything it can to mitigate job losses. She also called on all levels of government to support Canadian auto workers and products. Many observers attribute the closure to the impact of U.S. tariffs on Canada's auto industry. GM says it is responding to market demand and rebalancing inventory. But here in Windsor, some positive news. Workers at the Stellantis assembly plant will soon return to work for at least 2 weeks. Unifor Local 444 confirmed today that both shifts will return April 21st. The union says the company has made no decision beyond that point. Stellantis shuttered production at the plant for 2 weeks due to tariffs. The company says it will continue to assess the effects of recently announced U.S. tariffs on imported vehicles. In other news, 2 of the men involved in a 2022 shooting incident at a Forest Glade bowling alley were sentenced today. Our Dawson Chen was in the courtroom and has the details.
A judge has given house arrest sentences to 2 young men who were among those charged for a 2022 shooting at a Windsor bowling alley that injured 5 people. Joshua Fryer, 22, and Andrew Malash, 24, both thanked the judge after receiving the sentence. Lawyers for the 2 successfully argued that their only involvement in the shooting was being in the vehicle from which the shots were fired.
The 2 stepbrothers will each serve 8 months of house arrest after pleading guilty to occupying a vehicle knowing it contained a handgun. All other charges against them have been withdrawn. Both Meloche and Fryer have already been under house arrest for almost 3 years as part of their strict bail conditions. Along with their 8-month sentence, they'll both serve 18 months of probation, submit DNA samples to the court, and be banned from owning or possessing any weapons for 10 years. Justice Joseph Perfetto described the two as young men who did not need to be defined by this incident. The shooting happened in April 2022 in the parking lot of Super Bowl Lanes in Windsor's East End. The court heard there was a brawl inside the bowling alley between two groups. The large and frenetic fight spilled outside. Meloche, Fryer, and 2 other people got into a pickup truck. Fryer was driving. As the truck left the scene, someone inside the vehicle fired a 9mm pistol into the crowd. 5 people were struck by the bullets. None of the injuries were critical.
The identity of the individual accused of pulling the trigger is under a publication ban. That person faces 5 counts of attempted murder. A jury trial is expected in 2026. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy is with us now for our first look at weather. And Colette, we were optimistic yesterday and we got that sunshine today. You delivered.
I know, boy, oh boy, right? Must have done something right here. I mean, because that clearing line is so close by. I mean, into the sunshine here and elsewhere, it's overcast conditions stretching well into eastern Ontario. So this is the bright spot for a time earlier in the day, even all the way towards London. And then those clouds kind of retrograded back up once again. So overnight tonight, because of the clearer conditions, 0 for the low, and tomorrow a good looking day coming our way again, 13 and some sunshine coming back.
Awesome. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Here is a look from just a few moments ago inside Pierre Poilievre's rally set to take place here in Windsor. It's the first time the Conservative Party leader has come to town during this campaign, and we will bring you more from the event later on our website. Just go to cbc.ca/Windsor. And earlier today in St. Catharines, Poilievre continued to focus on his party's economic plan, even though some members of his own party want him to talk more about the threat from Donald Trump. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg has more.
We're at the port in St. Catharines, a major shipping stop along the Welland Canal. This is where Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre re-announced some of his policies he now says would boost Canada's economic activity over the next 5 years by $500 billion.
We need a change in government with a new Conservative leadership that has a Canada-first economic action plan. It will be modeled in a lot of ways off the incredible success that Stephen Harper had in the 08-09 crisis.
Poilievre mentioned Stephen Harper several times in this announcement and the fact that he worked under the former Prime Minister as an MP and a cabinet minister. Harper gave Poilievre his endorsement earlier this week, but this is really an attempt to harken back to the last time the Conservatives were in power and a play on that government's management of the economy. But it comes as Harper's former director of communications continues to slam this campaign. Corey Teneycke, who was also running Ontario Premier Doug Ford's campaign, is now calling Poilievre's campaign a disaster for having lost a massive lead in the polls over the Liberals. I asked Poilievre about that.
Stephen Harper's former director of communications says, quote, blowing a 25-point lead and being 10 points down is campaign malpractice at the highest level. Is it campaign malpractice?
No, I answered that question 2 weeks ago. Liberals and lobbyists want me to stop talking about high food prices. Well, I'm not going to do that.
Poilievre was also asked about the Conservatives' candidate Bas Simers. He is running for a seat here in St. Catharines and has been part of anti-abortion campaigns in the past. Poilievre was asked if he would allow his MPs to bring forward anti-abortion legislation in the House of Commons.
I can guarantee you there will be no laws restricting abortion passed when I'm Prime Minister.
Poilievre has spent the last several days in southern Ontario. These are key ridings to win an election where many seats can swing between the Liberals and Conservatives. Now, for the first time in his campaign, the Conservative leader heads to Windsor for one of his rallies. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, St. Catharines, Ontario.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh faced repeated reporter questions about what he hopes to achieve in a campaign where he has stopped saying that he is running to be prime minister. Singh pointed to holding the balance of power in a minority parliament.
We want to make the case for Canadians that Canada works best when one party doesn't have all the power. And when people have voted for New Democrats, they voted for a party and leaders that have gone to Ottawa and fought for them and delivered for them. Because people voted for us, we were able to deliver things like dental care and the first steps towards national pharmacare.
Singh cited other policy achievements by leaders who preceded him. The session with reporters followed a speech at a conference convened by the institute named after former NDP chief Ed Broadbent. And polls suggest that the federal election is essentially a two-way race between the Liberals and Conservatives, and that is squeezing out other parties like the NDP, the Bloc Québécois, and the Green Party. Ashley Burke looks at what they're doing to try to break through to voters.
The Liberals are riding high in the polls as the Bloc Québécois and NDP's numbers sink low.
If the Liberals win, just because they're less bad than the alternative, nothing ever changes for the better.
Jagmeet Singh addressing a room full of progressive thinkers at the Broadbent Institute, pitching to vote in more NDP MPs to keep the Liberals from forming a majority government.
Ottawa works best when there's someone there to hold the powerful to account.
You almost made it sound like a Carney win is a foregone conclusion. Do you think the election's over?
Well, I think that there is an important decision for Canadians to make. I think campaigns matter.
Singh looked defeated at his press conference as he continues to face questions about his party's dire polling and his own future. Is this your last election?
I'm focused on the campaign in front of me.
His campaign says all is going well, but some progressive voters in the room don't believe it.
I think instead of coming up with the antidote to Pierre Poilievre's individualist vision, they stuck too close to making the exact same arguments as the Liberals with just a slightly more likable leader.
The NDP's being squeezed because of the concerns everybody has around Donald Trump.
Like Singh, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet is running in his third election and struggling to resonate with Quebecers this time around.
I don't have any concern because I believe that the two-way race will have those parties set apart in Quebec.
The Green Party suffering in the polls too.
It's really tough because even our base, even Greens here in Esquimalt, Saint-Suc are saying, we really do not want Pierre Poilievre to win this election. And so who will we vote for to keep him out?
The NDP, Bloc Québécois, and Greens have just over 2 weeks to try and break through. They'll have a chance next week to face off against the frontrunners at the leaders' debates. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Turning to other local news now, a Windsor baseball player at the University of Michigan threw a no-hitter on Tuesday. It's the first time it's happened at the school in more than 30 years. Tate Carey is a Windsorite who graduated from Riverside Secondary School before becoming a Wolverine. He spoke with Windsor Morning's Amy Dodge.
Feels amazing. Definitely these last couple of days have been great, very exciting.
Yeah, what does it mean for you to have this claim of fame in Michigan?
I mean, it's pretty cool, especially growing up a Michigan fan. You know, it was always a dream of mine to come here. So I didn't know it was the first one in 31 years too. So, you know, that's pretty special. You know, I'm very just thankful for it.
And looking at your statistics, you normally pitch 3 innings or less. So how much of a stretch was it for you to throw the 7?
Honestly, my arm felt good. So, I mean, it wasn't really any added stress at all, you know. I felt good. So they just kept rolling with it and, you know, I just kept on going.
Yeah, can you explain why the game only lasted 7 innings instead of 9?
Thankfully, because my teammate scored a lot of runs. You know, if you're up 10 runs after 7, you get a run rule victory. So thankful for my offense for, you know, scoring a bunch of runs for me, making it easy.
Do you think you could have gone longer than 7 innings?
I mean, yeah, you know, I was pretty comfortable, pretty locked in. So, you know, no matter how long that game was going, I was staying in.
Election Day is just over a couple weeks away, and we want to hear from you. If you head over to our website, you will find a voter survey, and that's where you can tell us about what matters the most to you this election. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As the Trump administration slashes health programs and jobs, the Canadian Medical Association sees a silver lining. It wants provinces to quickly reach out to disillusioned American physicians and scientists. Georgie Smythe shows us the appeal and the challenges to bringing doctors north.
Crowds of laid-off healthcare workers line up outside federal buildings as promised cuts to jobs and spending take effect.
As part of President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS.
But those losses could be Canada's gain, with agencies here seeing a surge of inquiries from doctors thinking of relocating north.
There's no question that US physicians are interested in coming to Canada.
But Canadian authorities need to turn that interest into offers, she says.
And so if you can demonstrate that you're a province where there's less paperwork, where people can seek out research if they're interested, where they will be supported to do the work that they really feel passionate about, that weighs a lot when someone's thinking about where they want to work.
Currently, only BC, Ontario, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia have fast-track pathways for US physicians to migrate and work in Canada without needing additional exams or supervision.
So I just Googled
jobs in Toronto, which is where I'm from, and they had job offers and said that Americans were invited. And I was, whoa.
Dr. Karen Ginsberg is transferring her American qualifications to work in Ontario starting next year.
The sentiment as a physician here in the United States right now is really, it's been quite depressing. It's not the medicine itself. It's the way our country is going right now and the way medicine has gone, and it's a mess. It's a big mess.
But recruiters warn it'll take some time to settle people.
By the time they get license, interview process, I mean, you're talking at least a month to maybe 2 months, and then they have to give notice where they are. So we usually say, you're looking at 3 to 6 months.
For years, Canada has turned to other countries to recruit healthcare workers. Now expect provinces to get louder and more targeted to speak directly to Americans. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The main focus of the federal election campaign appears to be the trade war with the United States. But the leaders of some Canadian communities hardest hit by climate change feel that issue has gone ignored. Dozens of mayors and councillors across the country have signed an open letter. They are calling on federal leaders to take action on climate change and the economy. CBC's Brett Ruskin has the details.
Crowds of laid-off healthcare workers line up outside federal buildings as promised cuts to jobs and spending take effect.
As part of President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS.
But those losses could be Canada's gain, with agencies here seeing a surge of inquiries from doctors thinking of relocating north.
There's no question that U.S. physicians are interested in coming to Canada.
But Canadian authorities need to turn that interest into offers, she says.
And so if you can demonstrate that you're a province where there's less paperwork, where people can seek out research if they're interested, where they will be supported to do the work that they really feel passionate about, that weighs a lot when someone's thinking about where they want to work.
Currently, only BC, Ontario, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia have fast-track pathways for US physicians to migrate and work in Canada without needing additional exams or supervision.
So I just Googled jobs in Toronto, which is where I'm from, and they had job offers and said that Americans were invited. And I was, whoa.
Dr. Karen Ginsberg is transferring her American qualifications to work in Ontario starting next year.
The sentiment as a physician here in the United States right now is really, it's been quite depressing. It's not the medicine itself. It's the way our country is going right now and the way medicine has gone, and it's a mess. It's a big mess.
But recruiters warn it'll take some time to settle people.
By the time they get license, interview process, I mean, you're talking at least a month to maybe 2 months, and then they have to give notice where they are. So we usually say, you're looking at 3 to 6 months.
For years, Canada has turned to other countries to recruit healthcare workers. Now expect provinces to get louder and more targeted to speak directly to Americans. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Apologies, we ended up playing that story twice for you there due to a technical error. But stay with us. Colette will be with us right after the break. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for another look at weather. Colette, today truly feels like spring, and I don't want to go back to winter temperatures. I think I'm done.
Yes. Why is it that when we're done, it's like it doesn't necessarily bode that Mother Nature or everyone else is done,
She
right?
has a mind of her own. Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish we could control these things. A lot of us are done. But yeah, really nice, encouraging to get some sunshine and some decent temperatures today. And I do want to just kind of point out what's going on here in terms of our daylight hours. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:55. Our sunset tomorrow is at 8:10. So we are looking at some decent hours of daylight that we get to enjoy as our days get longer and longer. And looking even at the current temperatures, still holding in those higher single digits. So 9 degrees Windsor, 8 Chatham-Kent, after being up to 10 degrees. And the sustained winds, okay, we still have a north to northeasterly flow, but those winds even getting lighter tonight and into tomorrow. Now that cloud line has been really stubborn. I mean, it had cleared all the way across towards London early this morning, which was very encouraging because maybe you recall I stood here yesterday wondering if we'd even be able to get it as far as kind of Chatham-Kent in terms of that clearing line. But then the clouds, you see that line right here, backing up from east to west again. So still holding with the clearer skies where we can keep them. But otherwise, the system and that counterclockwise circulation really, really stubborn. And that cloud deck is going to be in many areas if you are going to be traveling within the province headed towards Lake Ontario. I mean, there's still a lot of cloud cover there and even some showers, another few millimeters of rain showers there into eastern Ontario. Here we go into Saturday in the morning hours, still have some sun. The clouds want to push back. Maybe you're going to have the clouds rolling back into Leamington and Chatham-Kent, but eventually as Saturday wears on and because we have the longer days, we get into more sun and it does spread a little further eastward. Then Sunday night, we have some showers that are going to roll in, but that's going to be late on Sunday, so it's still looking pretty good through much of the day. Overnight temperatures are going to slide a little bit because of the clearer skies. We could even slip just below freezing there. But then for tomorrow, with sun, 13 degrees for the high. Those light showers Saturday night into Sunday, that potential, and then again Sunday night into Monday. I've still got us really warming up on Monday, but then after that, we are going to go just back to seasonal. Not too bad.
Yeah, I'm just going to ignore that. I don't see that at all. I'm just going to enjoy the nice temperatures ahead. Thank you so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
And thanks to you all for watching. Have a fantastic weekend.
Good night.